Hello everybody, my name is Pravus, and welcome to Age of Wonders Planetfall Invasions, the latest and greatest expansion just released as of today, and a big thank you to Paradox Interactive and Triumph Studios for sponsoring today's video. So, you guys have seen this game on the channel before, and this is just adding in a whole load of new content that I'm going to show you today. Of course, the biggest and best feature that everyone's looking forward to is a brand new race that has been added into the game called the Shakarn, a bunch of lizard people that are particularly good at infiltrations. The Shekharan waited at the edge of the known Star Union, preparing and researching, spying from within. Now, with the fall of the Union, they are ready to strike and conquer that which is their right. So the Shakarn are a pretty interesting race, and I think they have the potential to become very strong later in the game. So they start off with aquatic development to exploit water tiles. Okay, sort of helpful. But their big bonuses come in the long-term bonus with racial tech. All racial tech research is 10% faster, and this pairs very nicely with the ability to steal other racial tech trees from other nations. That is potentially huge. Being able to just steal entire new trees of technology. If you know what you want to go for, and you know, let's say the Vanguard have a really good doctrine that would suit your playstyle very well, this could become amazingly good. But it does require a lot of extra science in order to make this worth your while. So I think this is probably better for the more experienced players, but it has a lot of really cool implications. On top of that, Shakarn introduced a new weapons type, the Sound Weapons Group. Now, I like these guys quite a bit. It uses kinetic damage, but it also applies a lot of debuffs, disorienting, impairing, staggering your enemies so they are more likely to fumble or just lose some of their action points. Very, very strong in my opinion. On top of that, the Shakarn are the masters of disguise. They use holograms to infiltrate, confuse, and mirror your enemies. Yes, you actually can have lizard people that dress up as humans and infiltrate their race. I see what you did there, Triumph Studios. Well done, very clever. For today's playthrough, let's try out a character I created called Executor Chris, who uses the Xenoplague as our secret technology, which I think pairs pretty nicely with the lizards. Also, he has close combat equipment, which goes very well with trying to apply the Xenoplague, and we have Covert Operative, so I can use covert operations more often. I'm hoping to get some use out of the special infiltration options as the Shakarn. Also military detachment, and we are decadent. Alright, let's go ahead and start up a new game on a basic Imperial world. Ooh, look at that ship! It's like a crazy dinosaur egg! It's actually very colorful and cool, look at that. Woo! I love the different aesthetic all the different races get. Alright, so we start with our larger army, of course, which means I can be aggressive right from the get-go, but the basics of the game still maintain the same. You have to get your scouts and go find places you'll want to explore and exploit. As I said, you do get the bonus to aquatic development, so playing on water-based worlds actually could be pretty advantageous for these lizards here. And for our basic production, do we want to go for the food? There's actually quite a few food options around me. I think I may actually want to be a little bit more aggressive this time and go for, let's say, the replicator factory, just so I can get some more production out. Start building up lots of military units as quickly as possible, and start conquering the map. And it looks like we've already found our NPC neighbors, the Forgotten. A little minor faction right here. These guys are terrifying, like living statues from hell. Alright, we're going to get a quest from them to gain an Inferno Launcher and kill a few units. That doesn't sound too bad. Let's send our army to do exactly that. They also are in control of the Center of Mental Acuity, which I would love to take over and ask them to move, because this could get me an absolute ton of science. Fits very well with what I want to do in stealing racial techs. Of course, the Shakarn have a whole new military tech tree for sonic weaponry, which is pretty nice. So let's take a look at some mods here. If we go for the deafening amplifiers, we can do extra damage and also can apply disoriented to non-ethereal units, giving them a 30% fumble chance for 2 turns. That could be substantial for our survivability. This is why I like Sonic. You get to apply all manner of different debuffs on your enemies. By the way, note here that we can see the Shakarn racial technology right here. But there's a drop-down menu where we will be able to apply other races if we want to. We can already annex our first sector, and I think it makes the most sense to grab the overgrown orchard, not only for the food, but also we can eventually release the Stadium Arcadium, giving me extra happiness, which is going to be good for a lot of my growth. Now, there are a few other features that have been added into the game, which I'm hoping we are going to get to experience soon. World events, for example, are now a thing. This is actually borrowing from a mechanic in old Age of Wonders 3, with like the cosmic events or whatever it was called. It's a worldwide event usually giving some sort of buff or debuff that can change up your gameplay. For example, everyone just produces more, or your vision and range has been reduced. Sometimes it gets a bit more tricky, though. For example, one of the examples they showed off in the dev diary is something where it actually starts cloning your units, right? So your enemies might suddenly find their strongest unit has been cloned in the middle of a battle, and now you have to deal with that situation. Lots of crazy things can happen, just to change up the pacing of the game. Let's go ahead and deal with our first quest. Of course, the base game's combat is still the same as before. You just kind of get in there and do tactical combat. Now, we do have a special unit called the Infiltrator, and this is one of the unique units that makes the Shakarn very, very interesting. And here it is right here, this xenomorph-looking skinny boy, the Infiltrator. Interesting unit with a lot of implications. We have an ability here called Hollow Shift, which allows us to copy the appearance and the abilities of a target enemy, as long as it is Tier 1 or Tier 2. That's interesting because if your enemy has a really powerful Tier 2 unit with some good abilities that you want to use for this battle, such as a healer or something with explosive area of effect abilities, you can just Hollow Shift, and all of a sudden it's like you have that unit and can use it as normally. But one of the things that I think is really interesting about the Infiltrator is you can also do Hollow Shift Repeat, which Hollow Shifts to the last unit in which it was transformed, and this carries between battles. So if in a battle you pick up a Tier 2 unit you really like and you want to use it for the next battle, you can do so. However, as soon as you Hollow Shift into something else, you lose that, and that becomes the next thing you are going to repeat into. That's pretty darn cool, and it offers a lot of interesting abilities kind of on the strategic map and how you're gonna use an enemy's strength against them. But do be warned, I have observed, if you auto-resolve a combat with an Infiltrator unit, the AI will probably use this themselves, in which case you've lost that favorite unit. So if you really want to hold on to something, you gotta manual combat everything from here on out. Case in point right now, let's suppose that I really like this Overseer support unit, and I want that. So we're going to go ahead and Hollow Shift into the Overseer, and you can see, using holograms, boom, we now have an Overseer, including all their abilities such as Cerebral Override and even some Revitalization. And of course, don't forget, we have our Xenoplague units, so I just applied a parasitic infection on their own Overseer, which means when they die, there's a good chance that I'm going to get a free unit out of this. Hopefully. No guarantee, of course, but you never know. So let's see. I want to go ahead and try to kill off a few more of these guys. Now, these guys are almost dead, so now's a good time to go ahead and use my special ability with my, oops, can't quite get that far. With my new stolen Overseer unit and get you healed back up and ready to fight. I think it's time to go ahead and mop these suckers up. And that seems to have worked out just fine. Look at these guys, by the way. They're kind of cool. I like the little aesthetic of having the capes deliberately cut in such a way they have to fit around a tail. Pretty nice. Unfortunately, we did not get a Xenoplague unit for free, so that sucks. But we finish up with our quest, which means now we get the Inferno Launcher, and these guys like me better. Yay! And I think we will try to clear out the Stadium Arcadium to get the extra happiness boost. Go away. What makes you think that I want tutorials? All right, let's go ahead and do another manual combat, because I want to show you that we can, in fact, get our Overseer back. Here we go. Hollow Shift Repeat. Hollow Shift into the last unit in which this unit transformed. Let's go ahead and do it again. And we're going to get our Overseer back. Now, in this case, the Overseer is probably not the best unit for us because it mostly works against indentured units to make them stronger. We don't have indentured units because we're not the Syndicate, so this only has limited value for me. Still, temporarily, it is a healing unit, and I like that better than stealing the form of, let's say, a basic flyer. Don't think they're going to be particularly good for me. There you go. Easy cleanup. But again, hopefully you guys can see exactly what the power of the Infiltrator really is. Now, our Shakarn heroes can get some pretty fun, unique upgrades, including some sort of instructors. So we have the Dolmok instructors, which give us extra crit chance and resistance against status effects. Or we can have Zardos instructors, which give us evasion and universal camouflage. We can only have one or the other. In my case, since we are a melee-based character, I think going for something like universal camouflage could be good. Also, rapid movements, which means every time we move, we are hard to hit. That's actually probably better for me for now. Now, we did just get enough of our influence to ask these guys to kindly leave, which they did. So as soon as we have the ability to expand our borders of the Erudite Keep, we will do so and take on a ton more science. And we have found another player, interestingly enough, another Shakarn clan. Okay, maybe we can be friends. I mean, one would certainly hope we can. Now, diplomacy's actually been reworked a little bit in this expansion. Previously, it was a little difficult to get a read on the personalities of your other AI players. Sometimes they just would not accept deals and they couldn't really figure out why. Well, that's because there are a lot of different factors at play as to how a different AI is going to perceive you and whether they want to be friends or accept your deals, etc. But a lot of that was hidden from the player. That has since been changed, so now you actually will end up seeing more reasons for why people are willing to do things and why they're not. Kind of like the reasons system you'd find in a lot of other Paradox games like EU4. But also we have personality traits, and you learn these over time about other characters by interacting with them or perhaps spying on them. In this case, I now know that Nuska Hellflame is a xenophobe. They favor monoculture empires, more prone to migrate colonies into their society. They like players who are at war with NPC factions. So this is how we can gain a lot of extra favor with Nuska. Ooh, here comes one of our first events, and it's a total eclipse. Well, given the aesthetic of this channel, I think that's actually pretty fortuitous. The largest moon in orbit around this world is in transit between the parent star and us, the star's corona flaring, and silver beads twinkling are sights everyone should see, but some can only worry about the dark shadow the moon casts. As a result, all units and structures lose range, and all units in tactical combat lose range to a minimum of 5 turns. So this is one of those events I was talking about. It's actually the same event that I got during my test game, so that's interesting. But it's basically just a debuff for anybody who uses a lot of range units. But if you rely heavily on melee units, well then maybe this is a good opportunity to attack your enemy. You can see here just how much the range penalty really hurts. My Overwatch is practically worthless over here. Ouch. These enemies are going to have to get real up close and personal. Real up close and personal for this to work for me. The developers have said that there are, I think, 27 of these special events, so that's certainly going to be interesting. Obviously, I don't think anyone has a list of what exactly exists yet. Let's go ahead and do a parasitic infection and try to get some people infected for more units. So we don't know exactly how good some of these are, how devastating some of them are, but I do know that it's certainly going to be interesting. Now, do we want to do any sort of hollow shift? I don't think I can even do that until they get close range. Yikes, dude. Eclipses actually kind of hurt. There we go, easy enough, able to save the Erudite Summit. So yeah, you can see kind of what the impact of some of these world events can have, and this is only one example out of many. But it can change up your strategic and your tactical gameplay. Pretty cool idea, good mechanic pulled in from Age of Wonders 3. Definitely will change up the pacing of the game. Well, we have met a Vanguard player. Okay, so this does mean if I can get my covert operations running, we could steal Vanguard racial tech. I like this idea. Now, something fun about the Shakarn racial tech is they actually like to make use of propaganda wherever the opportunity arises. So we have disinformation campaigns reducing the morale of enemy cities, or motivating broadcasts. Wherever we have propagation towers, we get some extra production. I'm going to go ahead and pick that one up for free right there. Let's go ahead and unlock another unit as well. And I do have the access to the propagation towers already right down here. So build this up, you get some extra morale because you're propagandizing your own people, and you can get some other temporary perks. Okay, I just researched intelligence gathering, which is a tier 4 operation. Now we have the operations center here, which it says reduces their operation defense by a fair chunk and also allows us to view their personality traits, which is good for the new expansion, as well as their special non-covert operations, and on successful infiltration, we will gain access to their racial tech. So this is what I've been gunning for, because I want to show this off in this episode, so let's go ahead and try messing with that. Somebody captured a claimed sector. That's rude. Maybe you're the one I want to steal from. Hang on. Let's go to our... Is it diplomacy or operations? Ah, no, here it is. Infiltrate Operations Center. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do this. We're infiltrating their operations, and then I'll get to use it against another player. Alright, so let's go ahead and use this Infiltrate Operations Center. Should I use it against a person with a non-aggression pact, or maybe someone I don't care about, like the Syndicate? It's a 90% chance of success and only an 8% chance of detection, so we're very, very likely to succeed. Let's go for the Vanguard. Let's give it a go. We were not detected, and we were successful. Our agent successfully infiltrated their operations center and is transferring data to us through a secure channel. With their help, we can view the enemy's current operations and render them more vulnerable to our own. So they lose some defense against us, and we just gained racial technology, Vanguard. Sure enough, right over here, we have access to Shakarn, and we have access to all of the Vanguard technology. Wow. Yeah, if you can get an absolute ton of science ready to go, that's so many new doctrines available, so many new mods, so many new various different abilities. Yeah, this is pretty darn powerful. Oh, and another world event appears to have just occurred. Reflective Dust. Being able to go unseen on a hostile world sounds like a good idea, but it doesn't help if every other living being on that world is also invisible. The glittery dust that's been settling down for a while is doing exactly that right now. All units have universal camouflage, and range attacks have 20% decreased accuracy. Wow, well, that's going to change combat significantly. Can you imagine if you were in the middle of a very big war with a lot of range units and all of a sudden this hits? Yeah, that would really hurt. And just for fun, let's actually go ahead and start researching the first round of enemy tech now, like nanite support, for example, which will get me access to the defensive mod for nanite injectors, support station, and combat assist system. Yeah. And there we go. We actually got it immediately, surprisingly enough. Okay, do we want to go for the next level? I guess we could do that. Defensive mods, more armor and stuff. We could access their engineers. Gain access to racial units. Wait, why am I getting all these, like, for free? What is, what happened there? I don't know. We got 2 free techs in a turn. I'm not sure why, but we got them. And I'm willing to bet that I had some leftover science or something, and that's why we got that. Anyway, so I think this is a pretty good first look at the Invasions expansion. Obviously, the biggest update is the addition of the Shakarn race. They are pretty powerful. Sonic weaponry is certainly quite fun. The ability to steal racial techs could be massive in the late game if played correctly. I like the addition of the new world events. They can be quite punishing under the right circumstances. Certainly will change things up at a moment's notice. And diplomacy, we didn't get to play with it an absolute ton here because I'm not a very diplomatic player. I tend to just beat people over the head, but I do think that it is certainly a good addition to add in some of these personality traits here so you have a better idea of what people are interested in, what they like about you, and also potentially having more obvious reasons as to why we should or should not be forming various different pacts and negotiations and trade deals, etc. Pretty cool update all in all. And you know what? There's actually a couple of other things I did not get to show you this run. We have 2 new NPC factions, including the Therians, which are kind of like animal people. They kind of remind me of furries. And also we have the Voidbringers, which is a hostile NPC faction that can invade the world. There is no negotiation. You just fight or get enslaved. Pretty crazy stuff. If this looks interesting to you guys and you want to pick up the latest expansion or the season pass, then I recommend you take a look at the link in the description down below to get directly to the Paradox store. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If so, then I would ask you to hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.